Hey guys, I'm putting the final touches on the Philco 3930 cabinet before I put it all back together. What I'm doing right now is rubbing out the finish. I've already done both the ends, real nice and smooth and shiny now. And I just finished up this bottom strip here, and now I'm going to work on the rest of it. I've modified my technique a little bit from what I've shown in earlier videos. Specifically, I'm now using odorless mineral spirits as a lubricant when I'm sanding and buffing rather than mineral oil. I think I wrote about this technique on the Antique Radio forum, as I find so many tips, and it works out a lot better because the mineral oil works fine, but it's kind of messy, and when it comes time to clean off the cabinet between each round of buffing, between each grit, it's a bit of a pain. Whereas the mineral spirits, it wipes off really easy. So what I'm doing is starting out with 600 grit paper and then moving on to 1000 grit, 1500 grit, then switching to 2F pumice stone, and then 4F fine pumice, at which point I would stop if I wanted a semi-gloss finish, but I want a gloss, so then I'm doing a final buffing with rotten stone, and after that I will put a coat of wax on the whole thing. So, quick demonstration here. I've just taken a little brush to get some mineral spirits out onto the cabinet. This won't harm the lacquer. Likewise, you could have a small bowl and just fill it with some mineral spirits and dip the sandpaper into it. And do some light sanding. Periodically clean it off and kind of rotate it around to catch it in the light to see how you're doing, or you can just do it by feel. I can feel it's still a bit rough. And when it comes to cleaning it up, I have a roll of work towels, or shop towels rather, this stuff. Nice and soft and absorbent, a lot better than paper towels, which can leave scratches. And there, it cleans off just like that. Now I can move on to the finer grits of sandpaper. And as for the pumice stone, similar deal. Pour out a little mineral spirits. And this stuff comes like in a giant salt and pepper shaker. You rotate it and you got some holes there. And tap a bit out. Then you can either use a clean soft cloth, like so, scrunch it up a bit, and then make like a paste and buff with that, or more traditional way is to get a felt pad and do like so. Always work with the grain as much as you can. Of course I can't on these areas where we've got inlay going the other way. And so on until you finally get to the rotten stone. And when you're done, hopefully you get something that's nice and shiny like so. Alright, so I got a bit more work to do on this. Here's how the bezel turned out. I did a little bit of wet sanding and then waxed this with some automotive wax. And then, just like I had been discussing in the previous video, I just heated up the old rivets and they melted in to the plastic quite nicely. I used a fine conical tip on my soldering iron and just touched it to the opposite side of the rivet, and it melted right into the plastic, and it's holding it in there quite well. It took me about 3 days off and on, and I finally got the cabinet rubbed out. My arm is about ready to fall off. But I think it's well worth the effort. That is really nice and shiny and smooth. I did make a couple boo-boos though on the edges. Can't be too careful when you're, especially when you're wet sanding. It's so easy to burn through the finish on the edge. So right here on this side and up top on this side, I went through the black down to the wood below, but all's not lost. All I did is take some of the extra dark walnut toner, sprayed it into the cap, took a little brush, dabbed a little on, and once that dries up nice and solid, I'll just buff it out. See, that's one of the nice things about lacquer. It's very easy to make repairs like that. If I was to scratch this down the road at some point, all I gotta do is take some fresh lacquer, brush it on, and buff it out. Not so easy to do with polyurethane. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to do is put on some wax. There are many types of wax out there. Some can get quite expensive. I think this stuff works just fine. Let's see, I think it's basically, I want to say paraffin wax. It's on here somewhere. I don't know, regardless. It seems to work alright. So you take a cloth, get some on there, buff it onto the cabinet, let it dry, and buff it out. Just like waxing a car. Here's what the wax looks like. Just get some onto a cloth and then rub it on. A nice even coat on there, and wait a little while and then buff it out. They say 20 to 30 minutes. So that's what I'll do. Now that the wax has had time to set up, I'm buffing it out with a fresh clean cloth. I move to a fresh spot of the cloth periodically as it gets gummed up with wax. The end result is one very nice shiny surface. I'll finish buffing out the rest of the cabinet and then we can finally start putting this stuff back together.
Old style home opener. And I'm going to be
okay, I've got the new mica caps installed and the manual tuning band is working fine. Now I want to see about those presets. So let's start out with the furthest on the left. It should be AM 560. And now when I want to try to set the first preset to be on AM 560. That's the leftmost or lowest frequency station I can pick up in my area. If I switch to preset mode, I've got nothing. Now the way these presets work is, so I think I mentioned earlier, going from right to left as you look at the back of the chassis, these coils and caps are tuned a bit differently, so the lower frequency presets have to be on this end and the higher frequency presets have to be on this end. There's two adjustments you make. The top one is for the oscillator. That's what actually tunes in the station. And the bottom one is the antenna. You use that to peak the volume once you get the station tuned in. If you read the actual instructions on doing this as published by Philco, they want you to use an RF generator, but I'm just going to do it by ear. So first I want to adjust the oscillator coil and see if I can find AM560. I'm just using a little flat-bladed screwdriver for this. It's a little tricky to engage these tuning slugs. There we go. Alright, so I'm backing it out. Alright, there it is. I think. Now that is the one reason why you might want to use an RF generator is, if you're going to do it by ear, you have to actually recognize the station that you're tuning in. Or you can just flip back to the manual. Yes, so there it is. That's the manual tuning band. So AM560. There's the preset, AM560. Awesome. Now I want to tweak the antenna pattern for maximum volume. So that's going the wrong way. Let's try going the other way. So right about there. Alright, next preset. I think I'll go for AM670. So I'll tune that in first manually.
Poor lady, you know, who can do that and enjoy it all her life. Mike North used to make me crazy.
Okay.
On April Fools, he...
Remember what that sounds like. Now I'll try to find it on the preset. I don't think that's it.
Thanks for checking it out.
There it
Appreciate
is.
that. Very kind words.
You're welcome.
All right, you take care. Let's go to Ted in the car phone. What's up, Ted?
Alright, so those new mic caps have really made a difference. Before, presets weren't working at all.
That was the first time I've ever called. I had to call.
Well, thanks for calling. I appreciate that.
Now I'm tweaking the antenna trim.
Tracking through what I could come up with, but I would have to say...
If you recall, these are what the bad mic caps look like.
And he was always a bit...
And I heard on the Philco radio forum that these are notorious for being bad. So if you're going to be working on some Philco radios, it's not a bad idea to keep some of these on, some replacements for these in stock. Alright, next I think I'll do AM720. Let's check these again. So there's AM560 on the presets, AM670. Don't have much there, so let's see.
20 WGN. Actually, you're not.
And there's WGN. Nick DiGilio's on. I know his voice pretty well, so I think I recognize that when I hear it.
One of the performers, and it was just great all the way
All
around.
right, there it is.
And the podcast is awesome as well. And I wanted to welcome Brandon to the show.
Now I'll tweak the antenna trim.
How are you? Good. So tell me how this whole thing got started. How you came up with you, me, them, everybody.
Yeah, well, obviously I'm a giant Blues Brothers fan and stole the title. Oh, that's Ricky Johnson did that. You don't have to be a genius for a film.
Alright, I'm going to keep going through and set up the rest of the presets, and then I'm going to put this chassis back in the cabinet.
Radio background, newspaper background, zines, bands, all the things.
And here the radio finally is all back together. This project took a lot longer than I thought it would, but then again they all seem to. The original grill cloth has a few spots, but as I think I've mentioned a few times before, reproduction grill cloth is getting very scarce these days, so I'll stick with the original. I have not reproduced any preset labels right now because I'm not entirely sure that I'll stick with what I've got. While we wait for the radio to warm up, here are some photos of what the radio looked like when I first got it.
Call 1-866-53 loans for additional information. Fifth Third Bank, member FDIC.
To start out with, here we are on the preset mode.
Ford with more than 5 best part. See store for details. It's human nature.
Write my resume, got me a job interview.
Seems to be working quite well.
Veterans learn at Al-Anon Family Group from people just like you.
Here it is in manual tuning mode.
Easy way to see. Visit PVA.org. A public service message from paralyzed
Here's the tone control.
This is Chicago's all-news station. News Radio 780. And now on FM at 105.9 FM.
WBBM News Time, 11.
Involving Mayor Daley's nephew, Richard Vanaco. Now, David Koshman died.
Considering all the crap I had to go through to get this thing working, I guess it is kind of remarkable. Between the bad rubber wiring and the power transformer and throughout the radio and the open output transformer and the ground issue with all the noise, and I'm quite happy with the way this project finally turned out.
But before that,
Let's check out the shortwave band now.
Yêu đất nước tôi. Tiết mục Những tấm lòng vì Việt Nam có bài tác nghiệp tại Việt Nam của đoàn nhà báo làng. Tiết mục Tiếng quê hương giải nghĩa các từ ngữ hồng bàng và con hồng chó lạc. Cuối chương trình. Trước hết mời quý vị và các bạn nghĩ.
Repeating, the real test wasn't in Egypt when the children were...
I hope you guys enjoyed this lengthy series on restoring a Philco 3930 radio.
You can Jesus' name.